Hey, comrades. Hope everyone's having a great time. We're moving on past the Camelot Shining games onto the games that people have like lower estimations of. We'll see. I'll make my own opinion, matter, my own. I'll make my own decision when it comes to how I feel about these games. But I think all the strategy games are done. I think now we're hitting up like action role playing games for the most part, maybe some JRPGs. I honestly don't. I don't look into this stuff that much. I'm not one of those channels or one of those people. So I kind of just start playing the game and see where it takes us. So the next up, we have a duology of games, Shining Soul and Shining Soul 2. So obviously they're going to be very similar, but I'm going to play them back to back. All right, let's see here. So both these games are for the Game Boy Advance. And for this first one, we get to choose from one of 4 classes. And it's an action role-playing game in the vein of like a Diablo style game, where you have like dungeons or these like levels, and you go through levels and you fight monsters that appear. I don't think it's like Diablo in that it's procedurally generated. I think they have levels, but then maybe the monsters or so. And then they just randomly drop stuff, and then you get it identified, and then you can equip better items. You gain levels. You get like 4 stats every level, so you can put them in what you need. Like the classes, there's Warrior, Wizard, Archer, and then Dragonoot or Dragonite, depending on the translation, I guess. I chose Archer because ranged, and I just wanted to kind of cruise through this. Dragon Guy is more defense-based. Warrior's more like melee attack-based. Both of them are melee, and then Wizard is magic, of course. So... and then you get to choose like a color scheme for them, which is nice. And then if you have like the Game Boy Advance or you're running some sort of crazy emulation system, you can play multiplayer up to 4 players with this. Because if I remember, the Game Boy Advance had like a 4-player connecting thing. That might have been... No, I'm pretty sure that was Game Boy Advance, yeah. So you can do that, which is cool, right? So you can have everybody and you can just like rickroll through this, to be honest. But then, so when you're attacking, you can, so then you have abilities you can invest in. And the more you invest in like a weapons ability, the more you can make a charge attack up till I think level 5 in this game. And the charge attacks, you can walk around, charge, and it's like boo, 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 at least with the Archer. Or you can just hold down a button that will keep attacking, or you can click it on your own. And then there's other skills, like at least for the Archer, there's like one that lets you like heal. There's increases your critical attack, and then each character gets like so many weapons they can equip, and then they have weapon skills based on those. So like with the Archer, which is the one I played, so that's the one I can really speak of. He has spears and bows, and I just used bows and didn't worry about spears. And then with the Wizard, they have magic, but no one else really gets magic. So I think that's everything to play in this game. Yeah, you just kind of wander around. And a lot of it was like utilizing, when I was playing, a lot of it was like getting guys to move into like corners or something where they couldn't get out necessarily because I like positioned correctly, and then the auto mapping just couldn't get there, and just like beating the shit out of them with arrows and stuff. For the most part, the game is pretty easy, with the Archer at least. Like there was a few times I had a little bit of trouble. The bosses were easier than some of the levels, because some of the levels you pop in and you just get like swarmed. Or at the bosses, they all have kind of like a set pattern. Even the final boss, which is Dark Dragon, which we'll get to that. It was kind of tricky, but I was able to kind of just like power my way through. And then you have a limited amount of inventory, but like for bosses, you can just like fill that thing up with healing items, and you can just like use them, just like in Diablo. They don't have a cooldown, so you can just keep using them if you want. And as long as you're well leveled per each boss, like you'll be fine. No difficulty whatsoever. But definitely, I feel like the range attacks make this game a lot simpler than if I had to do melee, because I had a little more like movement and whatnot. So it was good. All right, so generally I enjoyed playing it, right? It was simple, it was pretty short. I think I got through it in a couple days, which puts me at like 4 hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours. Didn't really need to grind at all or whatever. And then the story is kind of funny. The story takes place, this Shining Soul and Shining Soul 2 both take place before Shining Force 1, which chronologically was like the first game. So when I'm trying to play this game in chronological order, I failed. But I failed because the information I was given did not indicate that these were before. And again, I didn't look into that too much. I just said, like, give me a chronological playthrough of all these games. And people were like, the only chronology is the Camelot games, which was incorrect, because Shining Soul and Shining Soul 2 both take place prior to Shining Force. In fact, in Shining Force 1, we talk about like the battle that took place 1,000 years before that game with Dark Dragon. That is this game. Right, so then in this game we defeat Dark Dragon for the first time and seal him away for 1,000 years, and then Shining Soul 2 takes place like shortly after that. So I don't know if all these like post Shining Force 3 games take place in that like pre Shining Force 1 time frame, which would be interesting, right? But again, it's like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not playing these in chronological order, but I did the best I could. I could have done better, but that's where we're at. All right, so as soon as we start the game, we get thrown into an opening. There's this cute redheaded elf chick, of course. She's reading about Dark Dragon, and then she notices us, and she says, "Oh, sorry, Grandpa's not here." And then she gives us a book to read while we wait. And this book is about Rune, like Rune Faust from the first, from Shining Force 1. And it says, "Long time ago, Dark Dragon gathered evil forces, destroyed the land, but light still existed, and 4 heroes rose up." And then we start off in there's only one town, and it's like this camp. And so there's like Centaur Guy, Wizard Lady, and then Chaos and Adam, if you remember from Shining Force 1 and a couple other ones. Adam shows up again in like Shining Force Gaiden 3, I think. So they kind of give us hints on how to like fight some of the bosses that we get to. So every time you get to like a new level, there's like the end boss. They'll be like, "Oh, if you do this, maybe that." None of it's that necessary, to be completely honest. The game's, again, it's not that hard to figure out if you are just like playing along and you like die once. It's like, okay. And when you die against a boss, this is super nice. So when you die, an angel brings you back to town, and then you can like teleport right back. So if you don't have to keep using like angel feathers, you can use them to come back. If you die, you lose all your gold, but that's the only punishment in this game. So it's like kind of whatever. And then if you die against a boss, the portal to the boss literally just like appears in town. So you don't have to even go back. You can just like roll right into that boss again. Okay. Okay, we meet Noah. Noah's the centaur guy, tells us about the Dark Dragon and how he's been cornered and how we've been fought back this long, but now we need extra help. And at this point, we're in Rune Faust. He declares that the people live in peace once we can destroy the Dark Dragon and his 5 generals, and that we're the legendary hero that's going to save everyone. Next to him's the lady, that wizard lady I was telling you about. She states that we have to unearth weapons and defeat the 5 generals. I mean, there's no unearthing weapons. It's just whatever. Also, like I said, there's Chaos and Adam, the robots from before. Neat. We walk around. There's the ninja guy from the first game. If you talk to him, he gives you items, and if you can find him in a different location at the beginning of every level. I found him the first 2 times, and then after that, I was like, I don't really care that much. There's Boken. You remember Boken? He's that crazy merchant guy that was like, you kept finding in Shining Force 1, just like meandering about and doing stuff. I guess it's his great ancestor. And then the town has like weapon shop, armor shop, item magic shop, identification shop, right? Because like in Tristan, what's his name? Deckard Cain. You have to have someone identify your stuff. You can find these scrolls, but they rarely drop. And a lot of items need to be identified. So you spend a lot of money just trying to identify items to see if they're worth anything. Unfortunately, a lot of them, after you identify them, you can sell them for more than the identification, but not always, which is crazy. And then there's a bank, so you can bank your money so you don't die and lose it all. And then there's a smith. So if you find like 3 dark matter, 3 mithril, or 3 oraculum, you can make like a super weapon. I found exactly 3 mithril almost at the end of the game. I found like the first one in the first level, the second one like shortly thereafter, and then the third one like almost at the end of the game. I found 1 dark matter, I think. No, I don't think I did. I don't think I found any dark matter. And then I found no oraculum. So there you go. So I never got a cursed item in this game, so I don't know what it would do, to be honest, but that is what it is. Okay. I think that's everything. Yeah, but so you just take the 3 of whatever item you have, the mithril, oraculum, or dark matter, to the smith, and he'll like smith it up for you. Okay, so we start off in Beast Mountain, and at the end of the story at this point is like it's pretty short, so we're gonna cruise through this thing pretty quick. So at the end, and the first level is Beast Mountain. At the end is the Beast King. He's mad that we hurt his friends, so we fight. He goes down like a bitch. During this fight, this is when I learned how to charge attack, because nothing in the game told me that before that point. And it was like, nice. So then back to the camp. Oh yeah, the camp's called Prontus. And that's every level, literally. So the next up is the Labyrinth of Death. At the end is some asshole who taunts us about a Colossus. Then the Colossus comes up. Like literally just some goblins like, oh, you're going to get it from Colossus. You remember Colossus? This is the Colossus from Shining Force 3, not the Colossus from Shining Force 2, by the way. It's like the big vandal-looking monster thing, right? And so he just stands there and shoots lasers and stuff at us. So he goes down pretty quick too. But after he goes down, a ball pops out and runs around. And we have to like run around and dodge that and like kill it, right? But too easy. Let's see. Next up is called the Equal Dungeon. The boss here is Bolsame. Yup, the Vandal. So, I can see why people are upset. It's just kind of like, what? So we got 2. So we have Beast King is from nothing, and we're fighting Dark Dragon from Shining Force, and then we have 2 Vandals who just show up. And then at the same time, I'm like, was Dark Dragon part of like the Vandal group? No, because there's no Vandals here. It's just like the whole thing is like, you just gotta ignore it, right? It really has nothing to do with the other storylines. You just gotta take it out of these games. Well, at least Shining Soul 1 and 2 are like kind of really. They're like Shining Soul 2 is supposed to take place after Shining Shining Soul 1. There's not like a lot of things connecting it, but there is that kind of like, it says like, oh, after you defeat a Dark Dragon. It's like, cool. Anyway, so then Balsame claims to be a servant of Dark Dragon, but that he's not loyal to Dark Dragon, only to himself, and that he hates Dark Soul. Yep, Dark Soul's in this too. You're like, okay. So we fight, we beat that ass, and then he says, I'll never truly be defeated, and then something about the gods and whatever, and it's like, bye. Next up is Forest level. The boss here is Michella from Shining Force. Oh shoot, was it 1 or 2? I think from 1. Yeah, Shining Force 1. She's that crazy witch lady. She mocks us when we try to fight her, and then she's probably the hardest boss besides Dark Dragon because she has like 6 dolls. There's like her and like 6 dolls of her, and so I was like, and they all of them keep casting magic. And the hardest thing in this game is really the long range attacks. Like short range attacks, if you just hold down the button, which I think is Y, it's the top button on the Xbox controller I was using, or the PlayStation controller, which is the triangle button. But I think it's Y on the old Game Boy. But anyway, whatever it is, that top button, if you hold it down, it'll be like boop 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 boop, boop for attacks. And then if you press the A or B button, I moved the controllers around to make it more like used to what I was used to. You'll do the charge, but but it doesn't like stun magic, or magic shoots too. So with melee guys, you can literally sometimes just like stun lock them by holding that button down, and they'll just like stand there and eat it. But these guys, they were like really hurting me. I had to heal through a lot of it. And I was like, I don't have any idea which one of these is supposed to be the actual one. So I was just running around in circles with charge and being like boop 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 boop. And eventually it was like, oh, you won. And I was like, thank God this wasn't harder than I thought it was. I was like, oh my gosh, do I have to figure out, because I'd killed one of the dolls and then they just like reappear, and I was like, fuck you, game. And then when she goes down, she wishes that she could see Dark Soul one more time. Next up is the Grey Bull Temple. Oh, and then with Balsame, starting with Balsame, he is a general. The Mishala is a general, and then we fight Xeno later. He's a general, and then Dark Soul is a general. I guess Colossus is a general. The Beast King was not. Everyone identified themselves as a general except the Colossus and the Beast King, but. Now that I'm thinking about it and looking at my notes, I think I like counted 4 generals. So maybe maybe the Beast King is a general. He just didn't like, all of the rest of them were like, I'm a general of Dark Dragon. But I guess he didn't say it. Okay, anyway. Mishala is down, just heal through. Yep. So then Area 5 is the Grey Bull Temple. This time it's going to be Dark Soul. And again, I'm not talking about the gameplay too much, because there are slight differences in the way the levels are set up for each one of these kind of like worlds, if you will. But they're all the same. You show up, some monsters appear, you kill them, you go to like the next section of this area, you kill some of them. There's a little variation, but it's really not that much between what happens in each one of these levels. And so, oh, that's right, it wasn't Dark Soul, it's Yum! It's Yum from the Guiding Games. When we get to him, he smells our blood, and then he gets hyped for that. And so we fight him. After we fight him and his worm homies, because he summons worms too, which they're kind of assholes. And it makes the battle kind of crazy because these worms like poison you, and the poison in this game is like no fucking joke. And you can buy antidotes, but it's such a waste. Anyway, it's fine. This is probably one of the funner battles because it took a lot more like, it wasn't just like stand around and fire things or like charge hit. It was like, oh shit, I have to move and run and whatever. I think I died a couple times. After that, he dies. He declares that his blood has fallen to the earth, and that once darkness comes to the earth, he will rise again. Which, yes, I guess. Okay. Next, we have to go to the waterway, and this is where we hit Xeno from Shining Force 2, and he's mad at Dark Soul. Okay, so no, Colossus isn't. It's Yum. Yum's the 5th general. Okay. God, I was like, so confused. So Xeno's mad at Dark Soul. I don't know. He just doesn't like him. So we fight, and then once he does, he calls out to Dark Soul, telling him he's going to see him in hell. Okay, sounds good. Next up is the Dark Tower. At the top, there it is. He's finally Dark Soul. And he is like, he rides that Dark Dragon dick so hard. He is like, Dark Dragon, I love Dark Dragon. We kill him. He talks shit about us and how, and this whole thing is like a game he created, and that he's gonna get what he finally wants, and that Dark Dragon's gonna do whatever. And I guess he goes to hell to marry Mishala and hang out and fight Xeno or some bullshit. At that point, though, the story takes a twist in that it's not just like the same thing every time. The weird magic lady shows up and tells us that the Dark Castle's up ahead, and that we need to prepare for the final battle, and that she has something for us, like once we get there, but it's not till after like we kill Dark Dragon, essentially. All right, after we, I think at this point I had that mithril bow, but then I got like a better one later, and I was like, fuck you, game. Anyway, so we hit the Dark Castle. This one's super long. So most levels are like, I think They're 10 floors roughly. This one was like 15, and at some point I was getting late, and I was like, I just want to beat this game, and I was like, oh cool, I'm on level 9. I'll just beat this game real quick. And then it was like an hour later, and I was like, oh my god, why did I stay up for this? I could have just done this in the morning. Oh goodness. And Dark Dragon was annoying as shit. So I'm not gonna lie, and you might even see this in the video. I save stated the shit out of this because immediately you show up and like there's 3 heads, and so one of the heads shoots lightning, one of the heads shoots ice, and one of the heads shoots fire, and then they all like will attack, and you can only hurt them when they attack, and they only attack one at a time, and they take turns, and you have to. And so I killed the first head, and I was like, cool, 2 more to go, and then I was like working on them. As I'm bashing away, the head comes back. I was like, I can't fucking do this right now. So I looked into it, and people were saying you have to defeat all 3 heads at the exact same time, or like close enough, or they don't keep coming back. And I was like, Lord, give me strength. And so I started just trying to make that happen, and eventually I just like the head started going down faster and faster and faster every time. So I guess I lost hit points, and eventually I got them all down. But it was annoying as shit, not gonna lie. Because you can only hit one at a time, and once I get the heads down, especially when I got to that 3rd head, it comes down to get hit, and then it goes up, and then it just sits there, and like we're just sitting there looking at each other, not doing shit. And I was like, this is a poorly designed final boss. What the fuck? Oh my goodness. Anyway, so after we defeat him, he starts to taunt us about revenge some more. Then the old lady shows up with the robots, and they have dun 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 the chaos breaker, so we can sail this guy out. So she pulls it out. Adam and we don't have like nothing to do with it. Adam and Chaos like infuse it with chaos breaking magic or whatever, and then we seal him, and he taunts us that someday he'll come back, and bam, suck it, asshole, you're done. You're done. And he's right, he's not done. He'll be back for Shining Force 1,000 years from now, according to the story. So at that point, we just walk like we're like it's like a dark room with caverns and a dark dragon and like the scene, and then you just like mosey on over like 10 steps, and now it's like a nice green patch overlooking like a beautiful ocean. And there's a teleportation thing to go back to Prontus. And I was like, the fuck? Oh man. So then we teleport out of there, and then we get this little outro that it's like, even though Dark Dragon was gone, darkness is not eliminated. Will people be able to resist the darkness forever? The end. And they won't, because he'll come back. But yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed myself as like quick little John. I wouldn't like say like, oh, rush out and play Shining Soul, especially compared to those Shining games. It's hands down the worst one. Maybe Shining Wisdom is worse because it's longer. But no, I had a good time. It was a fun little romp. And yeah, there you go. So go ahead and join me in a couple weeks for Shining Soul 2. And go ahead and like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.